Hello, Libra. Welcome to Leo season. My cat just came to join us, so I don't know if you can see her if you're watching the video. She is gracing the beginning of your reading. So this is a reading for all Libra identified folks, Libra Sun, Libra Rising, Libra Moon. If you know where Libra is in your chart, you can always just listen for the house that Libra occupies in your natal chart or any other planets or points you have in Libra. Make the meaning that's most meaningful for you. Whenever you listen to this reading, that's the time for it. It is a timeless reading, and it is also for Leo season in 2024, which is the span of days between July 22nd and August 22nd. I'm going to begin just with a channeled divination or interpretation of your chart at this time for the main themes and big picture resonances that are coming through. And then we will check in with the lunar cycles throughout the season and some more specifics around timing. All right, Libra. Well, your sign is one that is known for being social. And whether or not you feel like an extrovert or an introvert, with the signature of Libra as a core part of your identity, you are a person who probably has some kind of instinct around navigating the social realms. Instinct and preference aren't necessarily the same thing. Again, this is for introverts, this is for extroverts, this is for people who like being social or people who don't. But Libra does know something about managing relational energy and engaging with others. And Leo season this year is really putting the spotlight on your social presence. And at the same time, highlighting the need for you to have a balance between social and personal, or outer and inner. This is a period of time that is really asking you to tune in with your energetic capacity and your true desires. Part of the, I would say, the alchemical configuration of a Libran identity and the skill that you have when you come into relationships, part of that is also survival. All of us are working with our archetypal imprints, and every sign conveys a spectrum of potentiality. And however we are tuning in with our zodiacal energetics, we are definitely working with both ends of a spectrum, where on one end, we really get to tap into the genius and the gifts and the generosity of that sign. And on the other end, we might have to deal with some of the more unconscious or destructive material or some of the baggage of it. And the feeling that I have for Libra right now is that the ways that you have practiced being social, and the ways that you naturally and instinctually, I would say, know how to meet people in a social space, have some tension in them right now. It's kind of like you find yourself in these patterns of behavior and relationship, and you feel where you're ready for change. And change, I think, is happening. And I think a lot of you have been shifting in the ways that you are in relationships across the board for quite some time now. But there's something really potent this Leo season that is asking you to be done with particular ways of moving your energy and sharing energy with others. I have a big feeling for you right now that there needs to be intentionality around performance. So if you are literally on stage and you have an opportunity to perform for an audience, or if you know that you have some kind of relationship where you really need to show up in a particular kind of role, there might be a specific need for you to perform. And as long as you know what that need is, and as long as you're conscious of when you are performing, no problem. There is a problem, though, when you find yourself performing and it's not conscious, or it's not something that you are choosing. And when you find yourself kind of falling into habits of people pleasing and performing for some kind of external response or validation, that I'm going to say, I don't even know if you want or need that anymore. Maybe you did at some point, or you thought you did at some point, but now it feels like a habit. It feels like a pattern that you are ready to let go of. So throughout Leo season and moving into Virgo season, I think that a lot of you might be experiencing a need to pare down your social engagements. Even though this period of time is highly social for a lot of you, there might be a lot of need for you to be out there. Maybe some of you are literally on stage, or it feels like you have to be giving your energy to a lot of people. I think that a lot of you have a lot of desire to be in social spaces. There is definitely energy for you to be connecting with friends, with communities, with networks, with partners, with loves. Um, and that said, there are elements of depletion in these social interactions that are asking you to pay attention to them, because something about the ways that you are bringing yourself into social spaces and involving yourself relationally need to change. Over the course of the next couple of months, you're in some kind of process where you're assessing it. I think that you feel the changes before you really understand them consciously. So, this is a period of time when it's really important for you to pay attention to your energy levels. How does it feel to be with certain people, certain places, doing certain things, etc.? What do you notice in the aftermath or the residue of those kinds of engagements? Also, tune in with the ways that you might feel yourself wanting to connect with people, and where there's kind of new impulses or new desires. And the feeling that I have is that a lot of these new impulses and desires allow you to be more authentic, honest, transparent, and not always perfect. Libra is a sign that really understands the value of aesthetics and presentation. But the danger of understanding the value of aesthetics and presentation sometimes is that it keeps you on the surface, and it can be hard to show your true self to people if your true self is a true self, like I'm going to say every other human has, where sometimes things are confusing, sometimes things feel messy, sometimes you don't want to put it all together to have some nice appearance. So there's an impulse for you, there's a need for you right now to let yourself be seen and witnessed and related with in new ways. I think that you have people in your life who really want that with you and for you. They may have even been trying to get your attention for some time now, going, it's okay. You know, you can take that mask off. You don't have to pretend for me. But habits run deep. And again, I think a lot of these like Libran mechanisms also come up as a kind of automatic way of being. So some things that I really want to encourage you to do over the course of Leo season. Before you are in any kind of social space, whether that's with one person or many people, take a moment and really try and feel your heart. So the actual organ inside your chest and the energy of that space, your heart space. You might even visualize that in this heart space, there is light. It can be light of any color, can be a prismatic kind of light. And also visualize that this light has its own intelligence. It has its own desires. It has its own wisdom and needs. If you can take a couple of moments, take some deep breaths, try and really bring your attention inwards and feel into your heart, and ask yourself from your inner wisdom, your inner guidance, what you want to experience in this social engagement and what you want to give and what you're open to receiving. Kind of set yourself up to be on the lookout for where you can give and receive in ways that feel heartful, aligned, honest, and authentic. Especially in moments where you may feel that you need to receive more than you give. Let's say you've had a long day, you're feeling tired, and you also have dinner plans with a friend. Before you go out, you might just kind of feel into that, notice like, wow, I don't necessarily have a lot to give right now, but I would love someone to hold space for me. Or maybe I really want to hold space for others. I don't really want to share that much about myself. Feels like too much is going on. Don't want to talk about it. it doesn't really matter what's coming up in terms of your personal truth or what feels authentic in that moment. What matters is that you're taking the time to notice what's there. And then you're setting an intention for your relational experience. And as you go into that experience, you might even experiment with verbalizing your intention. This can definitely be edgy for a lot of people, especially if in any way there's, insecurity that when we ask for what we want or need, maybe we'll experience rejection or someone won't be able to give that to us, or revealing that we have wants and needs might also reveal some kind of vulnerability. So if there's an edge to it for you, if it feels like, wow, I don't know how to ask for what it is that I'm wanting, play around with what it feels like even to approach the idea of communicating to someone about what it is that you want or what it is that you're looking for. But definitely acknowledge it to yourself and keep it in the forefront of your consciousness. And as you are experiencing the engagement or the social space, I want to encourage you to notice where it's happening. It's easy for a lot of us to notice where things are not happening. Our systems are biologically entrained for our survival to notice what's not working before we notice what is working. This is a practice of noticing where something is already happening. So for example, let's say you've had a long day, you have dinner plans with a friend, you really want someone to hold space for you, but you feel a little uncomfortable asking for it, you decide not to verbalize it, but you acknowledge it to yourself. Then in the course of your conversation, there is a moment where your friend is really listening and holding space. You notice it. That's where you verbalize. Wow, thanks so much for listening. That feels really supportive to me at this time. That's helping your friend get feedback and information about what is working for you. It's a little bit of a different approach than just outright saying what it is that you want or need. Most of us, not everybody, but a lot of people out there take positive affirmation as an energizing and a good thing. And when they feel noticed and acknowledged and celebrated for doing something that's making you feel good, they're more likely to do that again in the future. They may also even be curious and interested about what else would feel supportive for you right now. And if you feel compelled, you can even give more information. I had a really long day. Thank you so much for listening. Sometimes it's not always easy for me to ask. I really appreciate you just doing it, or something like that. The other thing I want to say to you, Libra, is believe people when they tell you who they are. So if somebody is in your life and they're like, I'm not good enough for you, believe them. The language that they're using may not totally resonate with especially beliefs of, a spectrum of possibility, maybe not anchoring into the binary of good and bad. But notice where you might have tendencies to work and labor around other people's honesty in order to try and get something from them that actually they don't have to give. I don't know if that's my capacity right now. I don't know if I can show up for this. I don't know if this is for me. It feels like there's a lot of need in your charts right now to believe people when they tell you who they are, what they have capacity for, what they're wanting, what they're not wanting, etc. And for you to believe them and make choices moving from that place. Thanks for letting me know that, you can't show up for this. We don't have to go on. And that liberates you from needing to take care of what you might kind of imagine or project someone else's storyline is. And it liberates them to be in the authenticity of their own experience. I also want to say that it feels like Leo season is a period of time that is beginning a cycle in the collective astrology, and for Libras specifically, that has a lot to do with some of the themes that I've already been talking about, but in a more general way, when it comes to your capacity, when it comes to your energy, your attention, your availability. your physical capacity, etc., and how your capacity meets your sense of calling or meets your sense of purpose or your beliefs. My feeling is that there are some horizons broadening for you right now, and a lot of you are feeling called in some new and different directions. Over the last, let's say, 4 to 5 years, something has been stirring in you that feels like it's asking for more expansion, more creative expression, more learning, more growth. It's like your attention is moving in a lot of different directions right now. And as it moves out in different directions, it is trying to nourish itself and it is trying to grow. If you're juggling a lot of different things, it's going to be hard to allocate attention and resources to this new growth. And beginning in Leo season and extending all the way into Gemini season of next year, so from July of 2024 until June of 2025, there is a kind of process of parsing through and negotiating and restructuring your day-to-day life so that your life can more effectively manage and hold and be oriented towards what feels like your path of growth. This is a period of time when some of you may feel somewhat distracted. It's like a lot of things have your attention. There are, again, it feels like a very social time for you. So there might be a lot of people that have your attention or that you want to give your attention to. At the same time, you have needs that are they cannot be denied. So these are the needs of your body. These are the needs of your sleep cycles. These are the needs of your actual attention. You can only give so much attention to anything at any given time. And certainly if you're trying to give a lot of attention to a lot of different places, it's going to be very mentally, emotionally, and physically taxing. And so we need you to be slowing down and working with careful processes of discernment. And the feeling I have here, again, is about authenticity and honesty, but now it's about communication with yourself, first and foremost, then with the people who are closest to you, with your intimates, with your family, with your friends, definitely with anybody who you're working with or who you might have shared responsibilities with. And I think that there is a kind of clearing out cycle that you're beginning. You want to cross things off of your to-do list. You want to get them off of your plate somehow in order to deepen and intensify where you actually want to be focusing. Back to the relationship piece. You came into this lifetime as a Libra identified person to do some kind of work around relationships. And coming soon, so in the next, I'm going to say 2 to 3 years, how you orient in your relationships is going to change really remarkably. And I think that many of you feel this coming up. You feel the need to have relationships that can travel with you into the next chapter. And so these old habits of relating, or maybe projects that have just run their course, or relationships that are no longer really serving growth for the people who are in them, this is a period of time where you are increasingly sensitive to those kinds of feelings and those kinds of experiences. Over the course of the next couple of years, and definitely in these next 11 months, you have to pay attention to what you really want and what really resonates for you on a subtle level. And the subtle body, our subtle bodies, are profoundly sensitive, and they are also profoundly honest. It can be quite jarring sometimes to check in with our subtle bodies, because they will tell us very clearly where things are working and where they're not. And a lot of times our subtle bodies are giving us information that our brains are not. And relationships are definitely one place this happens all the time. And I experience it constantly in my client practice. And I've definitely experienced it in my life. This is the feeling of, I want this to work out in my head. Oh, that person has so much potential. Oh, this thing that we've been working on, definitely, I really believe in it. I want it to work out. There's a attachment, to it or to somebody. But the experience of being in the relationship or the experience of trying to maintain the project actually has a kind of anxiety in the subtle body. It feels hard to rest. It feels hard to actually lean into and trust the situation. There might be unequal give and take and some kind of sense of either depletion or not knowing how to give back and then not being seen for that or something like that. All kinds of variations in how we might wrap language around those sensations. But I'm going to guess that you've had your own experiences in this kind of way. I think pretty much everybody has. You know the feeling of not really being in it or being in it in ways that are maybe misaligned or for the wrong reasons, contrasted with the feeling of ease and stability and a kind of safety, not in the sense of nothing bad is ever going to happen or someone won't hurt your feelings or something like that, but there's a safety to be yourself as you are with your needs, etc. And so I think that a lot of you are really experiencing this kind of clarity at the moment. You are feeling where there is true depth and substance in relationships, contrasted with where there's some kind of trying for something or attachment to something that may not be totally misaligned or inappropriate, but it could be that it's not ready yet. It could be that it needs something else before you get there. And so over the course of Leo season, again, it's really important for you to be tuning in with your heart, noticing your energy, and really asking yourself, what is it that you want? What are you trying to give? What are you trying to get? And how does your subtle energy influence and guide or direct what is happening in these exchanges? All right, Libra. So that's what I have for you in terms of an overview and some of the main themes that are coming through for Leo season. Let's talk about the season from the full moon to the full moon. So Leo season begins with a full moon. It begins literally hours after the last full moon in Cancer season. That full moon has a really strong feeling in it of completion and finality. There are chapters that are closing for a lot of folks right now. A lot of folks are literally wrapping things up, whether that's relationships or projects or they're moving or something like that. And a lot of folks are experiencing, I'm just done with this on some level. I'm just done with this way of being. I'm just done with this circumstance. Certainly in the world, in a collective experience, there are a lot of folks who are feeling really done with the way that things have been, and they're really ready for some change. In your chart, I am reading that you are completing a cycle that has been, I'm going to say, grueling at times. It has been a cycle that has really transformed your foundation, your base. This includes your support structures and systems. It definitely has a lot to do with your home and with your family. Around this full moon, there may be actual culminations of relationships in some way. There may be a readiness to move or to move on. Or if you have moved already, there may be a sense of finally that old life kind of getting wrapped up, or a door closing or something like that. From now until the end of the year, some of you are finishing up the last pieces, but by the end of 2024, you are really done with this chapter. And the sense that I have is that you have done a lot of heavy labor over the last 15 years, definitely the last 4 years has seen you laboring in a really intense way. And when I say labor, I don't necessarily mean of your own choosing. Probably a lot of you have been needing to respond to circumstances and situations that are emerging in your life that are drastically, potently, and profoundly affecting your base, your stability. Base, stability, belonging, home, and family are the big key words for this cycle. This cycle is completing, and as we move into Leo season, there's a real feeling of what's coming next once this cycle truly wraps up. So it is a sense of completion, and a lot of endings just take time. And there can be a kind of laboring around ending something that's just as intense, if not more intense, than the labor it takes to begin something. For example, I know a lot of people who work as death doulas and have been certainly in relationship with folks who are at their transition point, leaving their earthly bodies. And it seems to me that the process of dying sometimes can be just as hard, if not harder, than being born. And birthing and being born is intense, right? We all know that. It is a huge portal. It's an enormous threshold. It requires so much labor, so much resource, so much support. But ending things and transitioning and transforming, I'm not just talking about human beings. I'm talking about projects. I'm talking about places where we might be moving from or transitioning from one stage of life to another. This can be just so grueling in terms of how long it can take and what is required. And this is the feeling that I have for you, is like you have been doing this really deep foundational work for about the last 15 years. And there is a sense that you are done, or that you are nearing the finish line with something, and already in your energetic body, you might be done. You're like ready to move on, even if there are still pieces that need to be sorted out. The first week of Leo season has a kind of fresh, emergent quality to it. And I feel a lot of energy moving up and through your body in this first week. And it's like you're sensing what's on the other side of this completion point. This feels like a really inspiring time for a lot of you. It feels like a very fertile and creative time, and a time that is also really supportive for you to put the finishing touches on something, or to ready and prepare yourself in some way to bring that last chapter to a close, because you feel that this new energy is coming in and it needs space. The last quarter to the new moon, so the 29th of July until August 4th, this period of time actually feels highly relational. And I think a lot of Leo season is very social for Libras. But definitely during this period of time, I think a lot of you are either out there in the world, you're socializing, you're gathering, you're networking, or you are in some ways like trying to integrate social experiences that have been happening recently. And there's a fair amount of attention and energy that is going into the external realms. This feels like a very important period of time for you to be noticing the subtle energetic patterns inside of your relationships. I really want you to notice who shows up in mutuality and reciprocity for you and who does not. If people are not showing up for you, make sure that you are communicating, asking for what you want and need in ways that allow them to listen. People are a lot more inclined to give you what you want when they feel appreciated and seen, less so if they feel like critiqued or bossed around or something like that. So it is a good time to think about your communication, but it's also a good time for you to notice where you're getting what you want and what you need. There are new impulses coming in for you when it comes to your larger social networks right now. I feel like a lot of you are either in some new kind of social space or you're ready for some new social energy. There might be an emphasis on your participation with groups or organizations or like cultural streams or something like that. This is a really powerful time for you to set intentions for what you're trying to cultivate and gather when it comes to your larger social experience, especially in the couple of days right after the new moon from August 4th till August 7th. This is a powerful, powerful time for working with intentionality around love, relationship, communications, friendship, networks, families, sense of belonging. If you want to be part of movements or activism or organizing in some way, really taking some time to feel into your sense of purposefulness and how you want to show up in service. And thinking about what kinds of relationships would help you do this. Where can you be of service with people who value the contribution that you have, and with people whose contributions are valued by you as well, where you feel that there's reciprocity and mutual enthusiasm. Mercury is stationing retrograde the day of the new moon on August 4th, and it will be retrograde until the end of August. Mercury is stationing retrograde in early Virgo and moving back to the later degrees of Leo. This retrograde is definitely one of the textures that I was feeling into in the first part of your reading, and for a lot of what I've been talking about when it comes to this feeling of you are ready for some changes and you need to feel into your subtle body in order to navigate them. You'll know it intuitively before you know it mentally or conceptually, or definitely before you're really ready to communicate about it verbally. During this Mercury retrograde, a lot of you are, I think, assessing again your capacity. This is very important, certainly when it comes to relationships and social experiences, what you're giving out and into the world. This is equally important when it comes to projects and goals or ideas that you have for the future and what it is that you're trying to work towards. I think a lot of you in Leo season have some big ideas. You might feel inspired, you might feel creative, you have like visions and dreams that you think that you want to work towards. Mercury retrograde is here to help you discern what is actually going to be beneficial and effective, where your energy is going to be the most well spent, and also what is not the right path for you. And definitely you want to pay attention to what feels depleting or where you feel that your energy is not coming back to you. Like you're putting it out there and putting it out there and putting it out there, and like, where is it going to come back? And that could be specific relationships, right? Like, is that person for real? It could also be with projects. It could be with investments. Some of you, it could be with your kids. You might have children right now who are like, they don't want to engage with you, and you actually will be well served to take a step back and let them do their own thing for a bit or something like that. There's a feeling of needing to give freedom and autonomy to what is not just wanting to come be with you, right? So here we have the image of, love is held with an open palm, right? Like, if the love is here for you, then it's choosing to be here with you. If it's trying to move somewhere else, it needs to go somewhere else. That doesn't mean that there isn't love for you. It just means that there's another kind of love that's waiting for you to open your palm so that it can arrive. The last 10 days of Leo season, from the first quarter on August 12th through the new moon on, the full moon, through the full moon on August 19th, until the end of Leo season, beginning of Virgo season on August 22nd, is a very full period of time, astrologically speaking. There is a lot that's happening. There are too many planetary details for me to get into. We would just get lost in the sauce for a couple of hours probably. But I do want to say that during this period of time, there feels to me in your charts specifically to be some big breakthrough moments that could be happening. These breakthrough moments feel like they could definitely be in friendships or connections and relationships with larger groups. So if you want to be part of a friend group, or you're interested in like joining that commune or whatever, you know, you want to organize with this group of people towards that particular aim, this is a really powerful time for your energy to get clarified, consolidated, motivated, and put into action. This is a really powerful time for you to be organizing with other people around shared values and intentions. This is a really powerful time for you to be clear in your own energy and being the kind of friend that you want to have, and really working your communication and trying to let yourself and other people know what it is that you want and need. The full moon on August 19th is in your fellow air sign, Aquarius. And this full moon is bringing in a lot of energy that feels pretty exciting in the Libra charts. Excitement can, you know, do different things in our bodies. Sometimes it can feel like anxiety or pressure. Sometimes it can feel highly charged or erotic. I think it could go in multiple directions for you. But it does feel like this full moon might be bringing some interesting opportunities in relationships, and potentially some new romantic energy. If new people are showing up, or if people who've been there for a while are showing up in new ways, then this is a great period of time to really try to do a new thing. The vibe that I'm getting is that you have different needs and boundaries than you had in the past. You are more clear about your capacity. You don't want to overgive or overpromise. You also want to be an equal part of the equation. So if there are ways that you've been holding back or not really allowing yourself to be known or seen, it's kind of like you're done with that. So if something new is beginning around that time, I really encourage you to be new about it, right? Like, definitely don't try and do the same things. Challenge yourself to move towards an edge of the unknown and see what is possible. It also feels like this could be an important period of clarification and discernment, potentially in your relationships, and also definitely with your own energy, with your capacity, and with your resources. Your number one resource is your own life. It is your vitality. It is your breath. It is your attention. This full moon is going, Libra, you have a life to live. This is your life. How do you want to be using your energy? And where you feel that you are misusing your energy, misusing power, misusing resource, etc., it's going to be blaring in your consciousness. I don't want to do that anymore. This feeling of finality and culmination that's coming in for all the signs right now is definitely hitting your chart in a pretty major way around this full moon. And if that's the case for you, then I want to encourage you to take the prompt and let that energy manifest as a clearing out process that will take you through Virgo season, through the next couple of weeks, and use the gifts and benefits of Virgo energy to help you clarify, declutter, refine, discern, cut away, etc. I do want to say again that there is a longer cycle happening right now that is taking us all the way until next June of 2025. And this cycle is about clarification for you, clarification of your energy and your needs. You need to be taking care of your energy and taking care of your body and your environment in the ways that you can. We live in a world that is profoundly impacting and often extremely harmful. And there's only so much that we can do to take care of ourselves or to take care of others. But where you can, you really need to right now. If you know that, you know, you've been putting something off and you know that you need it for your well-being, but it's like, oh, like you're addicted to something, or you don't want to do this thing because you can't quite find the time for it, or you know that you need to do that thing, but you haven't been able to get to it. Now's the time. Now's the time to really work with your schedule, with your discipline, with your dedication, and bring yourself to what you know that you need to do for you. Over these next 11 months, there are 3 key words that I've been offering in every horoscope. I hope that they're helpful. Between July of 2024 and June of 2025, all of us on a collective level, personally and interpersonally, will benefit from practicing adaptability, from preparing, and from cultivating and remembering perspective. So adaptability is the ability to adapt. We are in times of intense and massive change. There are a lot of things that are breaking down, and that includes every single level of our lives right now, environmentally, societally, politically, certainly interpersonally, and probably, I don't know for you, but definitely for me, I feel a lot of old belief structures breaking down, generational curses breaking down. It's like, if it's not working, let's finish it, is the vibe. So how do we change, especially if we don't really know what's coming? As things break down, it's really hard to predict what is going to emerge and how we're going to need to be able to respond. This is where preparation comes in. And the need to prepare right now is happening on multiple levels. So there's simple preparation. And in your chart, I'm going to say that it feels like you have something that you want to be doing that inherently feels creative. It feels, I don't know if it's necessarily more artistic, but you're using your capacities and your intelligence in new and different ways. I mentioned before that Libra is a very aesthetic sign. Some of you might be really interested in actually pursuing aesthetics or beauty or design in some kind of new and different way. Some of you, especially those of you that really enjoy relationships and social energy, actually could feel that relationships themselves are creative, and how people come together and what they're coming together for is art. That's a creative, emergent process. Math is creative. Engineering is creative. Anything that any human has ever made started in their imagination, and imagination is creative. I want to say that I think a lot of you are really feeling an impulse that is imaginative, that is creative, that wants to somehow participate in making something new. And you have to clear space for that to happen. So adaptability and preparation are going together right now. You are looking at where you want to be. You're making preparations so that you can get there. A lot of your preparations have to do with weeding out what's misusing your time, energy, focus, and attention, and also implementing and dedicating yourself to practices, rhythms, and routines that will help you build towards what you want to experience. So a simultaneous releasing, letting go, clearing out, and putting something in place. Adaptability and preparation. The third key word is perspective. We are living in a moment when a lot of people do not have a very big perspective. Perspective gets narrowed profoundly when folks are feeling traumatized or in a fight, flight, freeze space. Perspective is also completely manipulated by media, by news sources that are actually invested more in getting you to be a consumer than in educating or informing you. Perspective is limited just by the simple fact that we are alive in human bodies. And that means that even if you speak multiple languages, you do not speak all the languages, you haven't lived all the places, you don't know what it's like to be in other bodies, and you're just here in this moment. You weren't here however many centuries ago. You're not here however many centuries in the future. You're just here now. And there's a massive amount of stuff that you don't know, and you can't know what you don't know. And so unless you have a perspective that includes how much you don't know, your perspective will be narrowed. Perspective is pretty dangerous when we think that we know, right? Like if the perspective is like, I'm right and I have all the answers, that's a dangerous perspective. My way is the right way is a dangerous, harmful, and usually violent perspective. So how can we work skillfully with perspective right now? Perspective also requires preparation and adaptability in order to cultivate a broad, vast, generative perspective. We need to prepare ourselves to meet the challenges of this time. That might mean doing the inner work of recognizing where our energy feels most aligned and accurate, how we're communicating, what that feels like, how we can be honest with others. We have to be adaptable. We're living at a time when a lot of different kinds of ideologies and viewpoints and lived experiences are colliding. There's a lot of conflict. People don't feel listened to. People aren't listening. And a lot of people are listening. There's a lot of learning that's happening. And when we learn, we adapt. When we open up our consciousness and expand our perspective, that actually helps us change. You probably have had the experience in your life where you travel somewhere that is new for you and you're like, wow, people do that thing like this here. I could do that too. Like, whoa, aha. The way that I've always been doing something actually isn't the only option. And that is so generative right now. It really serves your energy when you are learning, when you're expanding your perspective, when you're communing and connecting with people who have lots of different points of view. And in the expansion of your own perspective, new options emerge, and then you get to adapt, and then they help you prepare. This totally fits in with everything I've been talking about in terms of your relationships, your desire for community, for friendships, for organizational involvement in some way, shape, or form. This definitely is key when it comes to the ways that you are preparing right now for this next chapter and whatever wants to come forward. All right, Libra. Throughout Leo season, Embodied Astrology has a lot of different offerings that you may find supportive to everything I've been talking about and your work in general as a human being. I'm going to continue talking about your astrology as I tell you about what we're up to. So please stick with me. Every Monday morning from 8 to 9:30 a.m. Pacific, I offer an online class called Somatic Space. You can drop in one time and try it out. You can continue to drop in when you're available, or you can always get a membership. Everything that Embodied Astrology offers is offered at tiered pricing, scholarships, etc. Somatic Space is a weekly class where we use astrology to prepare ourselves for the week ahead through mind, body, and energy practices. Every single week we do something different, but every single week we are working with practices that help us align and attune with our inner truths. We do breath work, we do meditation, we do gentle healing movements, we do a lot of self-massage and self-touch, we do guided visualizations, and a fair amount of conversation. These spaces are super supportive. I always feel better after I do them, and they continue to support me throughout the week. They're also a great place to come and be with astrology rather than trying to think about it. And I will say that it's one thing to listen to horoscopes and kind of work with astrology on a mental level, and it's a totally different thing to embody astrology. And the work that I'm interested in doing is not so much in telling my stories about what astrology means, but giving you the tools to empower yourself to work effectively with these energies for the best possible outcomes for yourself and all of your relations. On August 3rd, which is the day before the Leo new moon, I'll be joining Gabs 404 in the Nebula Lab. The Nebula Lab is a space that Embodied Astrology is hosting this year. Gabs 404 is the facilitator of this space. This is an emergent think tank and experimental space where Gabs is working with the intersections of visual culture and astrology. Gabs is a documentarian and a photographer. They are looking at the planet Neptune, and Neptune in astrological symbolism is very related to photography as well as to any media that tells us stories, that shapes our perception, and creates worldviews. Our worldviews and perceptions are always changing. They are creative substance. We get to play with it. They're also things that, again, are highly manipulated by media, by corporations, by politicians, and parties that may not always have your spiritual growth or best interests in their heart. In the Nebula Lab, Gabs is doing some really cool research about the history of photography and looking at Neptune in multiple ways. There have been a couple of sessions so far. You can always check the recordings. But on August 3rd, I'll be joining Gabs to give a presentation on reading Neptune in your natal chart. Neptune is a transpersonal planet, has a generational cycle of about 165 years, I believe. But where Neptune is situated and how it's aspected in your natal chart is also really important to pay attention to. You don't have to have any previous experience in astrology to come. And working with Neptune, I think, will be powerful for you, Libra, because a lot of what I've been talking about when it comes to your capacity and your energetic expenditures, and also how you're feeling more sensitive in your relationships to vibrational frequencies and needing to relate in different ways, have a lot to do with how I've been reading Neptune transiting the Libra charts. August 18th, our facilitator, Sherry Taylor, is beginning a new 3-part cycle with the planet Saturn. Over the course of the last 2 years, Sherry has been working very deeply with Saturn. And Saturn is such an important figure in the astrological pantheon. It's a very important figure for Libra. It finds its exaltation in Libra. Saturn in many ways symbolizes the birth chart itself. It talks a lot about incarnation. Where Saturn is currently transiting for you, Libra, is in a space in your chart called the solar 6th house. This is the space of your day-to-day when I'm talking about your capacity, when I'm talking about your well-being, when I'm talking about your intentionality and where it is that you want to go and how you are growing. I'm looking at Saturn. In this new 3-part series that Sherry is offering, she's setting up a devotional cycle for working with Saturn as a guide for our vocational energy. Vocation and career, not always the same thing. So we're really thinking about service and offering, giving of our deepest gifts. This particular workshop, Sherry is going to be joined by the astrologer Anders Renee, who specializes in vocational astrology. I'm super excited to learn from Anders. I know that they have a lot to give when it comes to tuning in with the birth chart as guidance for really tapping into our vocations and our purposefulness. And considering everything that I've shared with you about your sense of purposefulness, your capacity, and what you're trying to build, I think some of you may find this very interesting as well. On August 20th, which is the day after the full moon, Janata Petrus, another of our wonderful facilitators, is leading her monthly full moon artistic alchemy workshop. Every single month, Janata gathers for artistic alchemy. And in these spaces, she offers prompts and practices for tuning in with creative energy as it moves through your specific projects and relationships, and also in your life. She is committed to helping the people who join her cultivate artistry as living practice. These are spaces that are super supportive, really sweet social spaces for those of you who are looking for places to tap into social dynamics where there is lots of space for authenticity and speaking of wants and needs and desires, and really working to cultivate practices of creative communion. This is a great space for you. Finally, Libra, October 24th through 27th, I would love to invite you to join me in person. Let's get off the screen and into actual 3D space with one another. I'll be co-facilitating a 4-day retreat with my colleagues Ramon and Michelle Gabrieloff-Parrish. Ramon and Michelle are longtime activists and facilitators of work that spans many different dimensions, but is definitely focused on environmental and food justice, as well as community preparedness. They do a lot of work around community organizing. And Libra, I think there might be something for some of you here. We are going to be working through astrology, through embodiment practice. Outside on the land, we'll be in Colorado at the Ecodharma Center, high up in the Rocky Mountains. It is absolutely stunningly beautiful there, and such an amazing place to really get in touch with our bodies, our truth, with the earth, and meditate on and practice with how these technologies can help us move into the future in strategic ways. Libra, I would love to see you at any or all of our upcoming events. You can find more information on everything that we offer at embodiedastrology.com. You can also follow us on our social media channels. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you stream your podcasts at Embodied Astrology. I'm wishing you all the best in Leo season and beyond. Bye for now.